What's happening, everybody? Thursday, July 8th, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. We're going to be going over everything that's going on down in Texas, the absolute tragedy that is occurring down there. More and more stories are coming out about what happened at Camp Mystic down in Texas, an absolute a national tragedy. One of the worst stories in quite some time. The death toll has now reached over 100. An absolutely sad story there. We're going to get into all the details. A friend of mine, Nick Sorter, is on the ground there with the Cajun Navy. He was on CNN over the weekend, or on yesterday, I should say, going over everything that they're doing down there. Also, there's been a lot of rumors going around about amnesty, that President Trump is planning some massive amnesty program. This was broken by Charlie Kirk. We're going to go over why I believe this idea is being floated in, I wouldn't say in the Trump administration, I would say in the people who not surround, but orbit around the president, as Brooke Rollins comes out and says that is absolutely not happening. We're going to go back and forth, and we're going to explain exactly why. Also, J.D. Vance has some choice words for Sultan Mamdani. We're going to get to that in just a second. But before we do, we're going to throw it live to the Trump cabinet meeting. Why? Because Lee Zeldin is about to talk, and on this show, when Lee Zeldin is talking, we watch, because I owe Lee Zeldin my life. So let's throw it to President Trump quick, and we'll be back in a flash.
Some would have done it exactly the way it was done, but it was dramatic and it was important, and we found a lot of things like billions of dollars given to people for environmental protection, where they had $100 in the account, like in Atlanta, Stacy. And then you had another one with 20 billion here, and 20 billion here, and 2 billion here, and 15 billion. And Lee, you might want to mention just a couple of those things. We really got because of those.
At the Trump EPA, the One Big Beautiful Bill was filled with many big beautiful wins for the taxpayer. It delivered a sledgehammer to the Green New scam. Billions of dollars rescinded. It's a big deal for the American taxpayer, who sees money go through pass-throughs that are filled with self-dealing and conflicts of interest. They see unqualified recipients. They see reduced agency oversight, and they want accountability with their tax dollars, and they got it. In the example of the Stacey Abrams connected NGO, they received $100 in 2023. They got $2 billion in 2024. They had to complete training on how to develop a budget that was put into their grant agreement. They, out of nowhere, started paying a CEO $800,000, a COO $450,000, 22 people making over 150 grand. Out of nowhere, this is tax dollars. So money go through pass-throughs, through other pass-throughs, through other pass-throughs, and we lose oversight over it. And you see that it's going to former Biden officials, it's going to former Obama officials, it's going to Democratic donors. And we're not here saying we want to take money from a left-wing NGO and give it to a right-wing NGO. We want to give it back to the taxpayer. This is about us being good stewards of American tax dollars without any apology or regret. That's why President Trump was elected last November, because there were a whole lot of people who maybe they hadn't voted Republican in a long time. Maybe they didn't even vote for President Trump the first time around in 2016, but they're regretting that vote from 2016, and they were making it right in 2024. So the One Big Beautiful Bill gave us the tools to rescind billions of dollars more. We're seeing hundreds of thousands of dollars that'll get wasted per electric vehicle, as an example of this money that was going through it. They gave $50 million to a group called Climate Justice Alliance. They say that climate justice runs through a free Palestine. The Biden EPA gave $50 million to a group that says the climate justice runs through a free Palestine. We say that if you're going to spend $1 in the name of remediating an environmental issue, then spend the dollar on remediating an environmental issue. We say that we can protect the environment and grow the economy. We want to help grow more baseload power in this country. So why is it that it took this long for this team to get assembled, to be able to fix the mess that we inherited? But gosh, we love showing up at our jobs every single day, first thing in the morning, because all day long we get things done for the American taxpayer. And Congress did its part last week by passing one big beautiful bill to deliver this accountability and to cut off the Green News scam. So maybe it's a bad day for Stacey Abrams. Maybe it's a bad day for all those well-connected Democrats getting paid off. But you know what? God bless America. Because at the end of the day, President Trump is here, J.D. Vance is here, and the greatest cabinet ever assembled to deliver that much needed and highly demanded accountability.
That was a very good answer. And that's from the heart. That's from the heart.
The Ukrainians have asked the International Court to go after Russia.
Well, as I say, when Lee Zeldin's talking, we are watching on this show because, like I said, I owe Lee my life, and that's why. That's why he's in the administration. Vance Zeldin 28. I'm calling it right now. Guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We're going to be getting into the tragic story of everything happening down in Mystic. I can't Mystic. Down in Texas. One of the most, just one of the saddest stories imaginable. As every single day, we're getting more and more and more information about what is happening down there. As I said, the death toll has reached over 100. President Trump has mobilized basically all the resources that they need down in Texas. Unfortunately, it seems as though the one road into that area of Texas has been washed away. So it's going to take, Mother Nature comes in quick. And the cleanup takes quite a while. As I said, some of the stories that we are getting out of here have been absolutely horrific. Some of what we're being told, this being reported by the Post Millennial, is that the Mystic camp counselors wrote girls' names on their bodies in case they were swept away in the flash flood. This is horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. Two teenage counselors at Camp Mystic recounted the moments when they started writing the names of the girls they oversaw at the camp on the girls' skin in case they got swept away by the floods on July 4th. The two counselors, Sylvia Garza and Maria Paula, told reporters at NMAS, I guess that's an outlet, that they tried to put on a happy face as they prepared to evacuate the Camp Mystic as the floodwaters were rising in the Country Hill region of Texas on July 4th, from the New York Post. At least 5 girls were killed and 10 are still missing from the tragedy. This article was written yesterday, so that number may be updated. Along with one of the counselors, they said, quote, "Us as counselors, we began to write our names on our skin anywhere that was visible," Paula recounted. "We did the same thing for the girls, wrote their names anywhere that would be easy to see. As the Guadalupe River swelled, young female campers from the Christian Summer Camp Retreat gathered where the counselors were working. The counselors were told to put on a happy face as they gathered up the young children in order to have them evacuated. At the time, we started to prepare the girls. We thought we were going to also be evacuated. We told them to pack a bag, to pack their favorite stuffed animal. We didn't know if we were going to be evacuated or not. We were just waiting." At the time of this article being written, the flooding in the region has killed over 100 people. And dozens more are still missing in the natural disaster. I mean, look, the horror that those kids must have been through. But at the same token, the horror that these counselors must have. I mean, I worked at a camp. I worked at a Boy Scout camp when I was 13, 14 years old, somewhere around there. I was in middle school, so I had to be 13. I was 13 years old working at a Boy Scout camp over the summer. Would I have known what to do in that type of situation? I don't know. I don't know if I would have known what to do. Doesn't say how old these girls are. Judging by the, can I pull up the photograph? Judging by the photograph that accompanied the article, I mean, these kids can't be more than, what? 15, 16 years old? That's absolutely horrifying. And the stories coming out have been absolutely wild. A good friend of mine, Nick Sorter, one of the best independent journalists out there. If you guys aren't following Nick on every single platform, you need to be following Nick Sorter. He's a great reporter. He spent months in Maui after the fires out there. He basically broke the East Palestine, Ohio story after the train derailment under the Biden administration, and he's been spending time down in Texas with the Cajun Navy, which is like a, how would you even say it? They're like I could be getting this wrong. They basically patrol the waterways with those little airboats, in the places where the river is too shallow for an actual boat, but people got to get around. Nick Sorter was down there. He was on CNN over the weekend. Here's Nick.
70. Sarah?
All right. Joining me now is Nick Sorter with the United Cajun Navy, a volunteer group that aids in disaster relief and emergency response. Thank you so much for being here and for being there. Can you describe what you and your volunteers are seeing where the Cajun Navy is searching?
And I'm telling you, it's absolutely heartbreaking out here to see this. This disaster is obviously particularly difficult to deal with, given the number of missing kids. That's something that we just haven't seen in quite a long time. I mean, it's almost unprecedented, and we're still in rescue mode out here. Haven't given up yet. But it's been days. So as the days go by, it gets more and more difficult. Luckily today, the weather is finally cooperating. It's the sun is rising right now. It's pretty clear up in the skies. Should be a little bit more helpful, especially when it comes to aerial searching today, which is good news. No rain in the forecast anytime soon, and we hope that it stays that way. Morale is quite difficult. I mean, seeing these children who weren't able to make it and their parents, and I can't even begin to describe to you how that feels. It is, it's hard for even office people to battle back tears.
And I know you guys have been on so many of these search and rescue missions. We're looking at some video now of Kerr County and just someone down in the river kind of pulling up debris. How dangerous has it been to try and search for those who are missing? What tools are you all having to use, just looking at the sheer amount of devastation and just how high these floodwaters got, moving huge trees as part of the debris, even homes?
Yeah, and that's part of the issue as well, is that when these waters are rushing and the water level continues to fluctuate, and so it exposes new debris, brings new debris into the water, and creates hazards for airboats. And you're showing this video right now, and you notice they have to keep taking the boat out of the water and put it back in the water because there's so many obstacles. There were a lot of hours spent chainsawing in order just to be able to traverse 50 feet down the river. And as the water moves, the debris also, sometimes it falls into the water. You have to worry about these snapped trees falling on top of rescuers. There have been a couple of instances of that happening. And so, it is it's a really dangerous mission, especially when you're trying to do helicopter work as well over the past several days with the weather and that low cloud cover. That made it incredibly dangerous. Luckily nobody was, no first responders in those instances were injured or killed. But I'm telling you, these guys are absolute heroes. All these agencies from all over the United States, all these rescue groups from all over the United States. It's very inspiring. It makes you proud to be an American that we can come together like this. I'm hoping that these guys are, they feel the love that they're getting from around the world.
Yeah, I'm just curious, as we're looking at the water sort of rushing in, this is a video from Center Point, Texas, where you see nothing and then all of a sudden you see this raging river coming at you and lifting and lifting and lifting. Have you ever seen anything, this sort of devastation like this before? Because I know you all have been in many, many floods in Texas in particular. Have you ever seen anything like this?
So Western North Carolina, which just happened last year, had a lot of similar hallmarks to this. The biggest problem with this this particular flood is a lot of this happened around 4 o'clock in the morning, if you remember. So a lot of people were asleep, especially people camping on the riverbanks. And, you've been able to see some of the videos where, the water level has gone up and down, right? And during the daytime when it's come up and down, you've seen how fast you can get it on video, and it's not a time lapse or anything. It's just a regular video. You can see the wall of water moving down. And it's terrifying how quickly it happens. Flash flood warnings are nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, they are, people don't take them too seriously. I'm hoping that what we've seen now and the amount of coverage this has gotten and the amount of videos showing how quickly it arrives, I'm hoping people will take this stuff seriously in the future and will give way. I mean, this is not a joke. I mean, luckily yesterday, I don't know if you heard about this, but there was the reports of another wall of water moving down the river because of the rainfall. Luckily, people heeded those warnings. Out of the way.
And that's honestly the most important part. You guys know I'm not big on authority, to say the least. But having lived through a hurricane here, all my New Yorkers watching this, we all lived through Hurricane Sandy. Up here, when they say leave. I'm a firm believer in that. Obviously, in this situation, it was a little bit difficult, because of the time of day and everything. But once again, guys, big shout out to Nick Sorter. He's a really good friend of mine. I probably would have been with him this weekend, but he's down there in Texas. So make sure you guys give Nick Sorter a follow. We're going to give you guys a more accurate update on all that is happening down in Texas in just 1 second. Before we do that, Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. Lock in some of those interest rates before Jerome Powell finally wakes up and decides it's time to lower interest rates. So, guys, go to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. And actually, on Thursday, we're going to have a representative from Old Glory Bank on the show. It's going to be absolutely awesome. I'm sure we'll be talking about all that. So, guys, go to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. So, with the live updates, this from about an hour ago from NBC Dallas Fort Worth. The death count has now reached 107 in the tragic flood. The search for 5 campers, 5 children, still remain. Officials say there were at least 41 unknown people missing after the catastrophe. So 41 people are still missing. 5 of those are campers. The search and rescue efforts continue on Tuesday as the death count from the catastrophic flooding in central Texas grew to 107. Including 30 children. The vast majority of the deaths, 87, occurred in Kerr County, where rescuers are still searching for a counselor and 5 girls who were reported missing after the flood at Camp Mystic. The bodies of 5 North Texas girls who attended the camp are among those discovered. The bodies of 20 others have been recovered along the Guadalupe River corridor in Travis, Williamson, Tom Green, and Kendall counties. Absolutely just horrifying stuff. Here was local news on that.
For a fifth day now, search and rescue efforts will continue in Central Texas after that historic flooding and mounting casualties. Now more than 100 people are confirmed dead, with 84 of those in hard-hit Kerr County alone.
Crews are set to resume their efforts today after breaking because of nightfall and conditions that are still dangerous. Our Larry Collins is live once again for us in Kerrville to get us up to date on the search efforts, which will begin here, I guess, in the next half hour or so, Larry.
Yeah, good morning. The sun coming up here in Kerr County. We know that means that a lot of people are ready to get back to work, and there is work to be done. We want to focus this morning on some of the people that have been affected by all this here on the banks of the Guadalupe River. We look at this home. We know the gentleman who lives here. He's okay. His home, though, not so much. And when we talk about that, I'm going to move back to kind of show you, as you see, parts of it have been ripped away. It's just been pushed over, parts of it cracked, and it just shows a large hole right there. And then look in the distance back there, you see that building, the same color as this building. It has been pushed over, and part of it is down an embankment quite a bit. And then that brings our attention to this truck, something we've seen over and over again in Kerr County. Vehicles left behind. Where this one came from, we aren't sure of, because we know it's been in floodwater. How do we know that? Well, there is a huge limb on top of it that obviously did not come from here, and lots of debris. It's been checked. We see that X, and the KFD, Kerrville Fire Department, has checked it, right? So it's been a tiring work for these first responders. It's been a tiring week so far for all these.
I tell you what, that is one of the, if you've ever seen natural disasters before, that X on the back with KFD, obviously that's Kerrville Fire Department, but the X on the back means it's been checked already. What are they checking for? What are they checking for? It's some sad stuff, guys. So look, just keep Texas in your thoughts. Keep them in your prayers. I'm sure that once the search and rescue efforts are over, I'm sure there will be every charity and every organization in the world doing something to collect something for the people down there who have been devastated by this, lost everything, lost family members. We'll be sure to keep you updated on anything that we work with, as you know we've done in the past and will continue to do on shows like this one. But guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place, because there is other news that I want to make sure that I get to throughout the day. Obviously, I don't want to talk about this tragedy all day, because that's just too damn sad. That's just too damn sad. But keep them all in your thoughts. Keep them in your prayers. Before we get rocking and rolling here today, guys, on the live news of the day, as the Trump cabinet meeting continues, we'll bring you a little bit of that in just a moment. Guys, once again, hit the thumbs up button. Do me a favor, guys. Head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. All the good stuff over here. Let's get this up on the screen so you all can see it too. Boom. There we go. Head on over loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. If you guys want to support this show and everything we've got going on over here, the best way to do it is by going to the Loud Majority. Go to loudmajorityusa.com. Use promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. That's promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. We get Trump bathing. Look at the. Come on, guys. Come on, fellas. Tell me you don't want to go to the beach in that. If you don't want to go to the beach in that, you're lying. You're lying. loudmajorityusa.com. So we're going to throw it back to the cabinet meeting in just a moment. We're going to see what all is going on over there. Then we're going to come back in about 5-10 minutes, and we're going to talk about amnesty. Is the amnesty happening? Where did this report come from? Why are people talking about it? Here's President Trump.
Very happy when I did that. I heard they were very insulted. They took the name of Mount McKinley off. That was done by Obama a little while ago, and I had to change it back. I changed it back. He actually was a great president. He was a president. He was the tariff, the most, I guess, since me. I think I'm going to outdo him, but he was a tariff president. He believed that other countries should pay for the privilege of coming into our country and taking our jobs and taking our treasure. That's the way he explained it. They took our jobs and they took our treasure, and for that they should pay. And he made them pay, and he built a tremendous fortune. In fact, in 1887, they had the Great Tariff Committee was set up in 1887 because our country had so much money, we didn't know what to do with it. And they set up a committee of, as they called them, elites, a term that we have to change because I think a lot of the people that are elites aren't elite. I think the people that aren't elite are elite, so we're going to have to maybe switch that around somehow. But they had a committee that was set up to spend the money because it was such a large amount of money. At that time, it was nobody had seen anything like it. And it all came in from tariffs. And people didn't pay tax. There was no income tax system. I told you that came back in 1913. That came back and lived well for a while, and then you had the Great Depression. And then later, they tried to bring back tariffs, but the whole thing was, this was after the Depression. It was one of the great misconceptions, is people like to say, oh, but it was during the, but no, the country had a Great Depression, and then after the Depression, long after it started, they brought back tariffs to see if they could save it, but it took them really 25 years. When you say about 25 years to get out of the Great Depression, a lot of people don't understand that. But I thought it would be interesting for you to get a little view of this room. This is a very important room, very powerful room, great room. And we've done similar, but even beyond this, in the Oval Office. We brought back pictures of some of the great presidents. Many of them were in the vaults for over 100 years. Originals all, beautiful, beautiful things. And rather than sitting in a vault downstairs for 128 years, I thought we should display that, and we did that, I think, in a really good way. We've gotten very high marks, but it's interesting. People walk into that room and they look around the room. They don't even want to talk to me. They could look at it for hours. It's funny, when people come into the Oval Office, it's such an incredible, it's a sacred place. When people come into the Oval, from the biggest people in the world, presidents, prime ministers, kings, queens, in one case at least, queens, and the biggest business people in the world, they walk into that office, and they always say, there's no place like this in the whole world in terms of the power. And I mean, it's beautiful and all, but there are other beautiful offices. You have businessmen that have offices that are, full floors of office buildings with floor-to-ceiling glass, and they walk in there and they say, there's no place like this anywhere in the world. There's no place. And, it's what it represents, maybe more than the physicality of the room itself. So it's an honor to have you all, media. It's an honor to have you. I just want to say we have a fantastic cabinet. Every one of them is a star in my book. And if they're not, I'll let you know about it. I'll throw them to the wolves. I'll throw them to the wolves in 2 seconds, because our country comes first, right? But I just want to thank you all for being here. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much, everyone.
All righty, it looks like they're about to wrap up that cabinet meeting at the moment. I got to say, I really like that President Trump does this stuff. Unfortunately, the last administration obviously didn't do it in any sort of reasonable time frame. But I do like the fact that I like the pomp and circumstance and whatnot. Guys, once again, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, share the video out all over the place. We're going to be talking about this amnesty rumor that has been floating around, where it comes from, who's reporting it, and why I think some people are attempting to float it. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, here's Jeremy.
Hey everyone, sorry to barge in like this, but I do want to talk to you about this opportunity for 45% off of Everyday Dose coffee. And this isn't just your regular coffee, folks. If you're like me, you love your coffee routine. I've loved my coffee routine since I was probably 16 years old. Unfortunately, as I've gotten older, some of the coffee that I love doesn't love me back and does cause bloating, does cause jitters, can only drink so much a day, and there's really only so much I could do with it. Now, Everyday Dose is known as Coffee Plus Benefits. And what I mean by that, folks, is A, there is an ingredients booklet in there that gives you a ton of different recipes on how to make cold brew coffees of all different kinds, lattes, different hot coffees, and more. But the greatest thing about Everyday Dose is it is known as Coffee Plus Benefits, meaning that you're going to have 100% Arabica coffee, and you're going to also have lion's mane, chaga, collagen protein, and nootropics that keep your brain focused, no jitters, no heart palpitations, and a ton of different recipes. And you're going to get a frother, a tumbler, a box set with a bunch of different gifts in it, an ingredients booklet for recipes, coffee, and more for only $27, folks. 45% off by going to everydaydose.com/LFATV. That's everydaydose.com/LFATV. Why not expand your experiences with coffee? That's everydaydose.com/LFATV.
Guys, go to everydaydose.com/LFATV today. So let's talk about amnesty, because this has been a big topic on X and across all the social media platforms over the last 24 hours or so. Many people we like, people like Steve Bannon and people like Charlie Kirk have been talking about how there have been people around President Trump doing what they can to push the idea of amnesty. Now, I don't think it's anybody in the administration. I'm going to show you the Charlie Kirk clip, and then we're going to go over why I think that this idea has been floated into the ether, how I think it got into the orbit. We're going to be talking about who may be doing it and exactly why. Here's Charlie Kirk.
President Donald Trump signed the big, beautiful bill on Independence Day on July 4th, signaling a massive legislative accomplishment. Tax overtime, no tax on Social Security. Epstein. We're also going to have live coverage for $10 for ICE. We're going to get mass deportations. We're going to be able to have now the largest deportation effort.
There's something wrong with the video. Give me a sec.
President Donald Trump signed the big, beautiful foot. Literally the day before President Donald Trump was signing the big, beautiful bill, I got a couple phone calls from people that you would call members of the ruling class. A lot of money and a lot of connections. They said, Charlie, isn't this amazing? We passed the big, beautiful bill. I said, oh, yes, sir. And they said, now we need mass amnesty. What? I said, we haven't even signed the...
All right, there's something wrong with the video, so we're not going to play it. Basically, what Charlie was saying is, sorry for the video being a little messed up. I don't know what that's all about. He got calls from people, probably donors, members of Congress, saying that now that we got everything we wanted in the big, beautiful bill, we have to tack back to the middle. We have to go back to the middle in order to continue to win the midterms. We were extreme for the first 6 months, and now we're going back. Now, there are two types of people that are doing this. One are the squishy Republicans, which we knew was going to happen. There's a large contingent of them out there. Unfortunately, there seems to be a very large contingent of these people, the people who pretended to be MAGA so they could get elected and now are just going to go back to worrying about their own asses. And then there are the ruling class, there is the donor class, there is the people who have benefited from the concept of cheap labor for decades upon decades. With that being said, Donald Trump has sort of signaled things about amnesty before for hospitality workers and for farm workers and people of that nature. Now, I think a lot of times when President Trump says things, it is basically his way of putting out a public poll. He says a thing, he gauges response, he either goes with it or he goes against it. And I know that the MAGA base has been very much against amnesty for quite some time now. And I think that is all of what happened there. You got many of the squishy Republicans who are saying, all right, we got our border security deal, we got our border wall. Now it's time to start talking about amnesty, or else we're going to lose the midterms. And I don't believe that President Trump is going to do that. I know he said it at the Iowa rally, but like I said, I think a lot of times when he puts out these public policy ideas, it is more in line with trying to gauge how people feel about an idea. And the MAGA base firmly came out against that. Here was Brooke Rollins saying there will be no amnesty in this farm worker idea.
I think I answered the second question, where we are on farm labor, a little bit earlier. But what I will say is that Lori Chavez DeRimmer is our Secretary of Labor. And the H-2A visa program, all of the programs that inure to moving in seasonal ag workers are under Secretary Chavez DeRimmer. She has been working around the clock with her team I think we'll probably hear a little bit more about this today, and the conversations will continue. But I can't underscore enough, there will be no amnesty. The mass deportations continue, but in a strategic way, and we move the workforce towards automation and 100% American participation, which again, with 34 million people, able-bodied adults on Medicaid, we should be able to do that fairly quickly. Thank you.
So what she was saying there, and this is important, is that many people have talked about the farm workers, and for a long time in this country, and I want to be clear, I'm not even totally against this sort of policy. For a long time, there have been guest worker programs. A lot of times, people from other countries will come in for the harvest, let's say. They'll make a bunch of money, they'll pay taxes, then they take the money and they go home. That is not out of the realm of possibility. And look, to be clear, there are companies that do this every single year. If you need any proof of that, just look at UPS around Christmas, Amazon around Christmas. They hire seasonal workers. Your local beach probably does this. They hire seasonal workers. They open up these, I think they're called H-2B, I think they're called H-2 visas. I might have the classification incorrectly there. But for a long time in this country, it's exactly what we did. We let people come in when we needed them, and then when we no longer needed them, they went home. That seems like a fairly reasonable thing. That seems like a fairly reasonable thing to do. However, this has got Democrats up in arms. Oh, you're only using these people. Well, yeah. Yeah. It's exactly what we're doing. We don't really have any qualms about that. However, the mass deportations are going to continue. They're going to continue. They're not going to stop, despite the fact that people like Karen Bass are out there making a complete ass out of themselves. But that wasn't the part of the press conference with Secretary Rollins that I wanted to focus on, because there is something that we have not talked about in this country nearly enough, and it is the fact that the Chinese government owns so much land in America. We're going to get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed, because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com. Promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. Guys, make sure you keep it locked in here, rumble.com/LFATV. I think Will Johnson is opening up the phone lines in the next hour. He's going to talk about the answer that was given today when the administration was asked about the Jeffrey Epstein list. Look, I want to be clear. I want to make this very clear. I'm a big fan of the president. Big fan. Big fan. Voted for him twice. Would do it again. No, 3 times, excuse me. Voted for him 3 times. Would do it again if I had the opportunity. With that being said, this just isn't a good answer. It's just not a good answer. Not a good answer whatsoever. We're going to get to that in just a second. You know what? Yeah, I'll play it now. I'll play you guys the clip now of him being asked about this. And this, both from Trump and from Pam Bondi, very, very bad answers.
Sure. Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. the former labor secretary who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of his death?
Yeah, sure. Could I just interrupt? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
Mr. President, on the tariffs first, you said it is the deadline.
I'm sorry, that's just a bad answer. That's just a very bad answer. Like, the part about the video at the end where it skips because it's an old camera, I know what she means by that, like old CCTV footage, but not a good answer. I'm sorry, just isn't. It's just isn't, okay? I'm a big fan of the president, support what he's doing, but you know what? When he gives a bad answer, I'm going to say he gives a bad answer, okay? That was a bad answer. He puts ketchup on steak. That's also disgusting. Like, you know, it is. Like, this, I gave you all my Epstein take yesterday, and I pissed off plenty of you, and I know I did that. And, you know, that's what I do here. Guys, you're not making it any easier for the people that are trying to be rational about this. You're not helping your cause. You're not helping your cause. Somebody take the mea culpa. Somebody say they screwed up, and let's move on. Let's move on. That wasn't, just wasn't good. But Will Johnson's going to be talking about that later in the day. I believe he said in the chat. I believe he said that in the chat. But let's get back to the Brooke Rollins situation. I wanted to make sure I played that for you because, shit, that was bad. But Brooke Rollins was sitting out there, and one of the things that we don't talk about enough in America is the amount of foreign, not investment, but purchase of lands in America. It's often said that many of our major cities are becoming unlivable. Affordability is a serious problem in many of our major cities. But why is that? Because many of our major cities have become playgrounds for the foreign rich. 100%. New York City. Go to a nightclub in New York City and let me know if you can afford bottle service. Okay? Why? Because the entire VIP section is occupied by oil money Persians, usually all wearing the same shirt. If you're from New York, you know what I mean. They're all wearing DKNY from 1997. But they're all wearing the same thing. It's all foreigners buying up the bottle services, buying up the luxury apartments for rentals, for extra pieces of property, for United States tax deductions, for other places where they live. It's becoming unaffordable. But one thing that we are not talking about is the amount of foreign investment in things like our farmland. And Brooke Rollins brought this up, how we're going to begin taking back that farmland from the Chinese.
But today, we are taking this purpose and our American farmland back. American agriculture is not just about feeding our families, but about protecting our nation and standing up to foreign adversaries who are buying our farmland, stealing our research, and creating dangerous vulnerabilities in the very systems that sustain us. Reshoring and nearshoring our food and agriculture supply chain is essential for our nation's security. In coordination with the White House, the Departments of Treasury, Defense, Homeland Security, and Justice, as well as state governors, state agriculture commissioners, local, tribal, and territorial governments, today we announced the USDA's National Farm Security Action Plan. This plan includes 7 key action items, and there's a lot of people here that I want you to hear from, so I'm not going to go one by one, but just very quickly. It's on our website. The press has gotten a preview of it, and we can ask some questions once we finish the main program. But very quickly, and perhaps the most important, the first of the 7, is securing and protecting American farmland ownership. Actively engaging at every level of government to take swift legislative and executive action to ban the purchase of American farmland by Chinese nationals and other foreign adversaries. Standing on the shoulders of great governors, 3 of whom are standing behind me, who have already been leading the way on this issue. And at the federal government level, working to do everything within our ability, including presidential authorities, to claw back what has already been purchased by China and other foreign adversaries. Additionally, working with the Treasury of the Secretary of the Treasury, along with our Defense Department, on memorandums to ensure that moving forward, there is a much more intentional look at who is buying what in this country and from where they are in the world.
Now, I want to be clear. This is one of those topics that it's not sexy. It's not going to get major headlines. It's not going to, it's not going to lead the charge on places like Fox or on many podcasts like this one. But this is one of those things that could have a deep, could have a lot of meaning moving forward, I believe. But like I said, it's not sexy. It's not, it's like when you go to your local government and you argue with them about trash collection. That's not the fun stuff. Donald Trump, the big beautiful bill, that's all the fun stuff. The pomp and circumstance, cutting $20 billion back from people like Stacey Abrams, like Lee Zeldin is on. That's the sexy stuff. Finding a way to get the Treasury Department to retract farmland purchased by foreign governments, that's the important stuff that won't get all of the headlines. Guys, I got one more story that I want to make sure that I get to, because we got to talk about Zoltan. Apparently, he wants to start arresting foreign leaders. What could possibly go wrong? Before we get to that, guys, head on over to LFATV.us. That's LFATV.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad, your baddest box for all things LFATV related. Check out the LFATV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at LFATV.us. That's LFATV.us. That's how you keep this network rocking. That's how you keep us rolling. So, Zoltan has he's feeling himself pretty hard right now. And the other day he came out and he said that if Benjamin Netanyahu came to New York, he would have him arrested. Here was President Trump responding to that.
No, you. Oh, me? So this is a question for the Prime Minister. The likely next mayor of New York City, Zoran Mamdani, a Democratic socialist, and a vocal critic of Israel and of yourself, and has said he would arrest you if you came to New York City if he was mayor. Is that something you take seriously, or are you concerned about that? Do you have a response to that?
No, I'm not concerned about that.
I'll get him
out. Look, there's enough craziness in the world, but I guess it never ends. I mean, you have this is folly, and it's it's silly in many ways because it's just not serious.
But what is serious is the question I was asked before. After October 7th, people said the Palestinians had a state. Hamas state in Gaza, and look what they did with it. They didn't build it up, they built down into...
Now, this is not a conversation about Israel. This is a conversation about maybe it's not a great idea if we start arresting the leaders of foreign countries when they come to our major metropolitan cities. What could possibly go wrong? What could go wrong? Here we go. Let's use another example. Vladimir Putin, very bad guy. If he comes to D.C. to visit the president and Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., decided to arrest him, that might just lead to a bit of a conflict that's probably not going to end very well. Xi Jinping, another one. I don't know. Anybody see a problem with local? I know, like, the mayor of New York gets, like, an outsized, like, view of the rest of the world because it's New York. But, like, he's just a mayor. He's no different than the mayor of your local town. Except his local town happens to have a lot of people in it. J.D. Vance had some choice words for Zorhan as well. This is pretty funny.
And that brings me back, finally, to the next likely mayor of New York. Today is July 5th, 2025, which means, as all of you know, that yesterday we celebrated the 249th anniversary of the birth of our nation. Now, the person who wishes to lead our largest city had, according to multiple media reports, never once publicly mentioned America's Independence Day in earnest. But when he did so this year, this is what he said, and this is an actual quote. Quote, "America is beautiful, contradictory, unfinished. I am proud of our country even as we constantly strive to make it better." End quote. There is no gratitude in those words. No sense of owing something to this land and the people who turned its wilderness into the most powerful nation on earth. Zoran Mamdani's father fled Uganda when the tyrant Idi Amin decided to ethnically cleanse his nation's Indian population. Mamdani's family fled violent racial hatred, only for him to come to this country, a country built by people he never knew, overflowing with generosity to his family, offering a haven from the kind of violent ethnic conflict that is commonplace in world history, but it is not commonplace here. And he dares, on our 249th anniversary, to congratulate it by paying homage to its incompleteness and to its, as he calls it, contradiction. I wonder, has he ever read the letters from boy soldiers in the Union Army to parents and sweethearts that they'd never see again? Has he ever visited the gravesite of a loved one who gave their life to build the kind of society where his family could escape racial theft and racial violence? Has he ever looked in the mirror and recognized that he might not be alive were it not for the generosity of a country he dares to insult on its most sacred day? Who the hell does he think that he is?
I don't know, guys. Sounds like a president to me. Guys, it's 2 o'clock. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. Once again, real quick, this weekend I will be in Tampa, Florida at the Turning Point Student Action Summit. If you are in the neighborhood, come on down, everybody. I'll catch you guys back live tomorrow. Until then, stay loud.